Can somebody who is on the screen tune in? Can you all also go on your respective group chats and images? Okay, we're streaming now. We would wait until the membership joins so we can get a satisfactory attendance. So we would wait 3 minutes.
Sure.
Right, so members who are in part of the panel, I request that you send small reminders to your cohorts so we can get a increased membership. We start in 1 minute. Right, so we would start with the small audience that we have at this point in time. I'd like to introduce membership, our first ever town hall. And in this town hall, we seek to inform the membership what we have been doing since in office officially on the first day of June 2021, as you would have known that the FST Guild Rep and other members of the esteemed and distinguished FST Guild Council were elected on the 19th day of March 2021, and we have taken office on the first day of June 2021. One of my duties as the FSC representative, according to the Guild Constitution, is to be the president of the Faculty Society or committee. And in this case, that committee responsible for that is the FST Student Council. We are the council responsible for representing the interests of the students, both at the class rep level and listening to the class reps, and at a faculty level, departmental level, and all levels of representation within the faculty. I, the FSC representative, represent the membership at the guild level, sitting on several boards, namely the faculty board and the academic board, where issues related to the faculty are always present there. My departmental reps work assiduously with the class reps to ensure that issues not ventilated at the class level are taken up to further levels. This is your FST Student Council. We are here to indicate what we have been doing for the past 6 months since taking office. We have done a lot for the students. We have worked together as a team. This is the largest council in the history of the FST Student Council. Now, when we think about the council, we only think about the elected positions usually. The elected position is the FST Guild Rep who has the power to appoint all members of the Student Council. Coming up further in my discourse, I will be discussing the changes in structure of the FST Student Council that would be taken in effect when I demit office in June. These changes would allow for greater increased democracy and representation at the level of the Student Council, greater engagement, and our membership will feel secure that their businesses are in good hands. In this agenda, we'll have addresses from Mr. Brandon Ochir, my Vice President, Deputy Representative, and also Representative of FST on the part-time committee, led by Ms. Tonaya Wheeler. We have addresses from Mr. Savan Philip, the club coordinator who is responsible for the council's relationships with the clubs in the faculty. We have Ms. Michaela Hussein, who would also give an address based on the activities coming in from her portfolio. Over the past few weeks and months and years, we've seen the importance and the need for gender representation at all levels due to changes in societies and all of that. I would have taken the initiative to appoint a gender representative to represent the agenda affairs of the FST Student Council. She would be giving an update on that. When I took office, I would have made a promise to the students that I will ensure that academic matters are ventilated in a bright manner, and we would, as a council, be taking steps to ensure that this academic representation is not only heightened, but it is efficient and effective. On June the 4th, I would have commissioned and established, and of course, convened the first meeting of the first ever FST Student Council Academic Affairs Committee, which consists of all departmental representatives. We have the EPT representative. Now we have a member who is Ms. Calicia McLean, who serves as the N1 representative, another academic position. The point of this committee is to discuss matters concerning all of our students, be it a student who is regional and has to come to do labs, be it a student who is concerned about coming in to do a practicum or an exam, be it anything related to examination windows and whatnot. We will ventilate these concerns and discuss these concerns and discuss what is the correct and best way forward for us as a council to address these matters with ensuring that the students get the representation that they need. Any matters that are brought to this committee are always discussed with us as a team, as I strongly believe that the guild motto, "Together we can make it happen," resonates strongly in this council, and all academic decisions are not only left up to the guild rep. As guild rep, I would have taken the initiatives to make myself available to all the class representatives. We would have created group chats and informal communication platforms where class representatives would have the space to freely interact with members of the council. And members of the council will, of course, bring their matters to my attention. And in that regard, we will be looking after our students, all aspects there. Representing the Academic Affairs Committee of this council would be our DCIT representative, Ms. Shania Harold, and Mr. Nicholas Rampol, the chemistry representative. In closing, in the introductory address, before I would pass on to Mr. Savan Philip, who will be giving us a brief update on what goes on with his portfolio, followed by Michaela, followed by most likely Mr. Ojir. He is not here as yet, but he will be here shortly. I would like to indicate that after the speakers have as the speakers have spoken about their respective portfolios, I will be giving the chairman's reports. As the chair of this council, I will be discussing academic matters that have been brought to my attention briefly, of course, and of course, what the council has been doing. Mr. Uji would also be given an insight when he reaches there. Additionally, there would be a question and answer session. So I would advise all members who are here to leave your questions in the Facebook or YouTube stream, whichever you are watching us and following us. We will intend to answer your questions as promoted. This is an event for you to get your questions answered effectively and efficiently. I would like to pass you over to Mr. Savan Philip for a brief update on what he has been doing in his portfolio to benefit the engagement levels of the student population. Mr. Philip.
Thank you, Mr. Musura, for the lovely introduction. And good day, everyone. Good day, everyone. I am the club coordinator for the FST Student Council, and I'm here to give a brief update on what I have been doing so far. As a project, so far we've had for the council, we've had our inter-clubbing exercise, where we'd have clubs from all over the region cooperate with us, with our clubs, to hold a small event. You may have seen them thus far. So just a few of the flyers that we've already shown. So here we have the chemistry in the clubbing, which was held a few weeks ago, beginning semester. Life sciences, and we even had a cybersecurity webinar, physics, and lastly we had a webinar about climate change. Now, what you'll notice is that all of these activities were held not only by our clubs, but clubs from every region. They were placed in groups, so based on their field, they held an event that showcased what they had. Each club showing exactly what they did, and might I say myself, they did very well. I even learned a few things, and recording for all of these events can be found on their respective club page. This whole event concluded this week, actually, with the Earth Sciences webinar. Now, although our own campus, the SDA campus, doesn't hold any Earth Sciences clubs, such as geography, geology, or meteorology, it was still very interesting to see the Mona and KFL campuses contributions in those clubs. So with that sparked some new ideas from all of our clubs to keep this not only as a yearly event, but also semesterly, with not only participations from our faculty, but also participation from all the other faculties as well. Clubs from every faculty, and we'll try to get this underway as soon as possible. If not this academic year, then hopefully in the next academic year or so. So one thing I want to touch on is the reason for joining clubs, because I understand that although clubs are very appealing to some, it seems pointless to others when you're here for academic pursuits. I will just place 3 important points. One, it provides a place where you can meet like-minded individuals in your own field of study. Because we don't always come here with knowing what you want to do, or even having friends who study the same thing as us. Clubs make it a lot easier to make these connections. 2, it provides a place to relax in hectic times, such as this. This is exam preparation time, and even if you don't have final exams, you do have preparations for final in-course exams. And I know these can be hectic times, but by joining clubs or similar interests, you will definitely find people in those same situations as you, and you can even form study groups or even get advice from people in these clubs, whether they're in the same year, above, or below. Lastly, they will be very useful in gaining information you would not get from class. Job opportunities, career advice, branches available. You'll find a lot of interesting information being given out from these clubs. Like just recently, we had an internship share from the UV Computing Society. And even small things like this, they can have a big impact on your field, even your view on it. So just upcoming on a small I wouldn't say small, but a project I'm working on as well is the implementation of the Uv Biochemistry Society. This would be a new initiative for our campus, however, not new to the Muna campus, as they already have a biochemistry society. And yes, we do plan on working with them in the future, hosting events together, collaborating on biochemical matters, even updating each other on how we plan to do things. So with that, I would like to thank all, not only the clubs themselves for their participation and all the activities they've been hosting, but I'd also like to express my gratitude to all the members of each club for attending, for the engagement, and for the continuous support for all of these clubs, and by extension, our council. As we draw closer to the end of teaching, you'd notice a lot of clubs advertising their final event or final general meeting or events like that. Because we know that the executives of each club are themselves students. Yes, the clubs are run by students themselves. So we cannot have them working while they have to be prepared. So while these events are going on, show your support. Take a break for an hour or two, and because we understand it's a hectic time and you don't want yourself to burn out. School is not solely our academics. You have to understand how to understand how to network, how to understand how to talk to people, because we have been isolated for a long while due to this pandemic and online teaching. So my last bit of advice to you: study smart. Don't spend all the time studying. Take breaks frequently. So you give your brain a rest. You don't have to feel guilty for taking a rest. Trust me, I took me a while to understand this as well, but eventually I did. I'll then pass you on to my colleague, Mr. Khalil Hossein, on update on gender affairs.
Hi everyone, I'm Michaela Hussein, your Gender Affairs representative for the FST Student Council academic year 2021 to 2022. So let's get started. What I'm going to talk to you all about is a little bit about why gender representation, what we have accomplished so far, and what we're yet to accomplish. So let's get started. First, though, I want to give a little introduction to gender representation. And in our faculty, in our student council, this position is the first formal gender representation. And I'd like to firstly commend Mr. Jeremiah Mathura, our student council president and FSC Guild representative, for pushing to establish this position, because it is definitely a needed thing. Another point is that on the Guild Council, we do have some gender representation. Our Faculty of Social Sciences representative, Mr. Darren James, is the Guild Gender Advisor. The Guild is also moving to establish a formal position of a Guild Gender Rep. Hopefully that will come, we will get that next year in 2022. So yes, there are big things on the way. So now I'm going to talk to you about why gender representation. Why did Mr. Matura want to establish this position? So firstly, I just want to clear two myths. Gender is not only a woman's thing, and gender affects us in the Faculty of Science and Technology. It's not a social sciences thing. It's not, it's a everybody thing, right? It's a people thing. And things like sexual harassment and discrimination and unequal opportunities affect us all. And us students in UE here are no strangers to that. So that's why we have gender representation, because we want to represent all the concerns of our students and all gender groups and sexual orientation and minority groups equitably. And we want to ensure that our faculty and the university at large is a safe space for any person of any gender group and sexual orientation. So that's why we've established gender representation. We want to hear your concerns and we want to voice them so that we can deal with these issues. Also, we want to mainstream gender into our operations, putting gender considerations in every decision, because gender is a part of our identities, and because it's so ingrained into the way we live, we need to make sure that the considerations that we have include everyone. So that's just a little bit about why gender. If you want to know more, then we can have a discussion about it. But that's for later. We want to get into now what we have accomplished so far. And before I say that, I just want to say that this gender position in FST is in no way to it is not to replace IGDS, but it is definitely, well, we cannot do that, but it is definitely to help them out. So we'll be making gender more widespread topic of discussion, right? Because it's an important topic. So I just want to get into what we have accomplished so far now in our tenure since June. So firstly, we established the gender subcommittee, and that would be a subcommittee of the Student Council, which has different arms of it. We have the gender education arm, we have research and we have the sexual harassment complaints arm. So those three are not fully functioning yet, so we still have a lot of work to do with the gender subcommittee. Currently, the most functioning part is the gender education, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about that, but I want to get into the sexual harassment part first. So what we aim to do with this is to make it a information service where you can come to us with any concerns about sexual harassment, and we can reroute you to the appropriate authorities within UE or outside of UE. So we are not, please note that we are not a professional service. None of us are qualified to give advice on sexual harassment, and that's not what we're doing. We are going to just be rerouting you to the appropriate services and giving you information if you're not sure where to access it. So it'll just be one more place where you can learn about where to access this kind of information. And anything on discrimination as well. So yes, we haven't established that yet. We're still in the process of doing that. So that's one thing. I also mentioned research. So that is just basically, we call it research, but it's just basically ensuring that it's a part of gender mainstreaming. So ensuring that all our content is inclusive to all gender groups and non-triggering, that sort of stuff. So we've already started doing that. And then the gender education arm. This is the most exciting one. I'm just kidding. They're all exciting. But I really like this one. So you'd have seen us posting some interesting content. Well, interesting in a different way. On our Instagram about gender. So you have seen, if you're following you better be following our FSTSC Instagram page. Okay, so please follow it. We'll put the link in the chat if you haven't already. And you would see we had a post on the difference between gender and sex. We had the sexual health education. We had special awareness days like period awareness day. So those things, we have started doing that because we want to talk more about these topics. And why are we talking more about these topics? Because some of these topics are taboo, like period awareness day. You know, a lot of people wouldn't want to talk about that. So that's why we want to talk about it, because it's an issue. Period poverty, these things are issues that confront people. And we want to, reduce the stigmas associated with it, because those stigmas are often reasons why problems don't get addressed. And the same thing goes for things about gender education, like gender and the difference between gender and sex and those sorts of things. That is foundational education and information about gender that we don't always get in our school curricula unless you do gender courses, right? And it is fundamental to know these things because we are socialized into a very gendered world. Everything is gendered. We need to know someone's gender before we can address them properly, right? So that is, but we don't know how to deal with gender issues. So we've been socialized into this society, and sometimes we don't know how to deal with them, and we don't understand everything about them, and we might not treat with it in the right way. Things like gender-based violence. We have seen a lot of that in our society today, and that is one of the root causes of that is harmful gender norms and beliefs about different gender groups. So that's why we need to start erasing those things, start having new conversations about them and raising awareness about them, so that we don't perpetuate those stereotypes and norms that can continue this harmful culture, right? So yes, that's a very deep background to our simple little posts. So that's one form of gender education we've been doing. We've also been looking at having gender events. So you would have seen our first major gender event was Pride in Our People. We held that on October 19th. That was Spirit Day. And that was, it was a panel discussion, and we talked about standing up against bullying of persons of the LGBTQ community. And we had two lovely panelists. So if you'd like to go check it out, please do. We had that in collaboration with FST Safe Space, a new club and I'll get into that later. But yeah, if you want to check it out, we'll link it in the chat below, or the side, or wherever the chat is. Yeah, and another thing that we started doing is the Agenda Instagram live sessions. That's one of my favorites. So that's a casual session where we get to talk to you students about, your perspectives on certain issues. We like to bring up controversial topics, like we talked about performative activism in the LGBTQ community, and masculinity and femininity and STEM, those kinds of things we talk about. So yeah, we like to hear your voice. It's a non-static way of learning about gender issues. So that's why we have that there, and we'll be having another one. We've had 2 so far, so our 3rd one will be soon, if you can hopefully come to that, and we'll have a good time. Okay, so those are some of our events, and speaking of events, next week we have another event coming up for International Men's Day on the 19th of November. We'll be having our Men in STEM event held on our FST SC Facebook page. We just newly established that page, so go give it some love and go check out our live next week Friday at 5 p.m. Yeah, so we talk about all gender groups. Like I said, gender is not only about women and the LGBTQ community, it's about everyone involved. So we'll be talking about that interesting stuff. Come and ask your questions because we'll have some lovely speakers. One other thing that we have also started doing, like I said, gender mainstreaming in our operations. So we've started including our pronouns in our email signatures. Something very simple, but it makes us a more welcoming space to trans persons. And like I said, going through our post content to make it more inclusive. So yes, and the last thing we have done is establish the FST Safe Space Club. So that's a mental health club where, persons of any sexual orientation are welcome. You can be from FST or you cannot be from FST. As long as you're a UV student, you are welcome. And it's a non-judgmental space. It's a bonding, close-knit space. It's a newly established club. So if you want to join, you can fill out our membership registration form that we'll link in the chat, as well as the executive application form if you want to apply to be on our executive. So, but you have to be a member of FST if you want to be on our executive. Yes. Right. And that's basically it for all the things that we have done. Also, I want to show you that the FSC Safe Space is a confidential space, so we will not be leaking any of your information if you choose to tell us. Right. And we've not been so active with our club because we just got it started. But we will definitely be planning a lot of things for you coming up next semester. But you can still join from now and you can get in on what we have for this semester too. So, yes. That was what we've accomplished so far. Now, what we are still to continue doing, a lot of the stuff that we have to achieve still, we have already started. So they're in progress, and the high priority one that I want to talk about is our LGBTQ workplace policy. So this is something that the CAISO, Sex and Gender Justice, has developed a workplace policy for eliminating discrimination against LGBTQ persons in the workplace. And the Faculty of Medical Sciences Safe Space has adopted that workplace policy to UE, to a student setting. And they have brought it to their faculty. And they gave it to us so that we can bring it to our faculty. So we will be doing that, and we will keep you updated on that. This policy includes things like no discrimination tolerance, and making it a safe place for all persons. Sometimes the sex segregated job assignments and these things, and trans persons and accommodations for them during their transitioning period. All of these things are included in this amazing policy. So we will, as I said, keep you updated on that. And the next thing we're doing is restructuring our gender subcommittee. So we want to make it more productive and functioning. So we will be assigning new roles, and if you'd like to be on the gender subcommittee, you can apply via our application form. We have one. We decided that we'll open it up to non-student council members because most of us on the gender subcommittee are on the student council, and so it's a lot to manage. So we would like your help if you think you can help us out. We would love your inputs. So please apply. And one more thing, no, two more things. We are planning to do some gender sensitization for the FST Student Council only, just to sensitize and again mainstream gender into our operations. But I have gotten suggestions to open it up to the Guild Council, and if that's something that you students, everybody is interested in, then perhaps we could bring it up to IGDS, make it thing. So we can definitely collaborate on that. And gender education events, so fun stuff coming up next semester as well, so please stay tuned for that. And tell us what you want to see. You can tell us by dropping. You can fill out our novice. That survey is typically since give us an idea how well we've been doing for knowledge purposes. So basically, I have any questions? Thank you. On listening to my
Is it just me? Or...
No, she apologize for that. She has disconnected for a bit and she will return.
She'll be returning, right? Or
yes,
we can continue.
Yeah, we can continue. She'll return, don't worry.
Okay. So welcome back, guys. Well, we're already here. So we move on now for us to discuss the important things that has been done on the general scheme of things at this student council, what we have been achieving and what we have been advocating for the betterment of the membership. We believe not in lip service and saying that we will do things, and we believe that we need to put action to where we speak. And during this tenure, we would have done certain things to ensure that we as students, we as members, we get efficient representation. Now, I would like to end on a note saying that not everything the student council advocates for we would get, but we would try as hard as we can to ensure that the students are well served by this council. Just going to some things we would have done. Our council would have taken the initiative to continue the departmental days, which will give us students an opportunities to find out jobs and internships and things available in their fields, giving them an opportunity to acclimatize themselves with research opportunities and employment opportunities. It would give the clubs of that department of time to their moment to shine and recognition and increased membership. We would have had conversations with the International Affairs Committee, which is chaired by Mr. Daniel McCulling. Purposes of these meetings would include for us to come up with representation and consideration for our regional members. We would have those matters would have been carefully ventilated. We as a council would have taken the initiative to allow for the group chat we use, of course, which allows for interfacing. We would have worked with the class reps as mentioned before. Certain things that came out of the class reps, these levels would include us actually working with these class reps to advocate for, of course, the reduction in clashes, the reduction in the overall workload at times for our members, the requests for some sort of accommodation for our students on a case-by-case basis. We would have done that. We would have worked. We would have encouraged our class representatives to come to us when they feel that they need the assistance. We have encouraged, we have ensured representation for our pre-1 science programs by installing a representative, so they now have a voice on this council. So decisions are not only being made by a select few from a certain disciplines, but we are made sure that the representation is inclusive representation, which will include all departments, all year groups, all programs offered within this faculty. And that is what we've been doing. Additionally, as mentioned before, I will be going to the issues that we, of course, as a council would have to deal with. But allow me to just speak on the representation here. We as a council would have recognized that due to the pandemic, there have been, of course, with the increased workload of assignments and so forth, and the shift to 100% coursework, we've known the effects from last year, what that would cause for our students in terms of their mental health. We've been advocating for that. We have brought it up at the guild level. It was presented in several papers. We have several, as you all would have known from the guild general meeting, the academic board papers that the guild submits were actually available in that repository. And among those concerns, labs were raised, access to research facilities were raised, concerns based on vaccination and non-vaccinated students. All those concerns were raised in those in papers previously submitted by the council, the guild council, under the astute leadership of our guild president, Mr. Koki Sandy, and all the academic committee chairs who would have been working with Mr. Sandy in the preparation of those said documents. The voice of FST is well represented, and additionally, so I would have spoke about how we've represented you at the highest level of student representation, which is at the in-council level, in terms of academics. We have noted concerns with the time windows. We've noticed that certain courses are getting, it depends on the course structure, really and truly, which indicates of how the time windows are. We have been looking at how the courses were run in the previous sitting before COVID and after, and we've been ventilating to see what is a suitable time frame for our members. But what I would say to that end, those students who are here today watching us and feel that the time windows are insufficient, what I would say is that be on high alert, be vigilant in times where your computer is shutting down, the internet, be ready to take those screenshots or whatever and ventilate it properly with the examination lecturers, the examination committee, the persons who are responsible for invigilating the online assessments and so forth. Have regular communication, communicate with us, reach out to us, and we will try to advocate in those difficult circumstances. With respect to the time windows, there are so many processes involved and approvals that are needed, and we all know the reasons why the thing, but nevertheless, this council and I, as your general representative, has been tirelessly advocating, tirelessly working, tirelessly having conversations with our postgraduate president who sits on the AQUAC, which has a specific function in dealing with the course structure and all those aspects, the approvals and whatnot. I have been tireless communication with our members who sit on these committees, be it academic board, be it BUS, and so forth, to ensure that what we don't see in this semester, we try to see what we can see in the next semester. We can try to see, at the end of the semester, we tend to do a robust analysis on what really the students has been experiencing, what really needs to be changed, what has to be done to allow our students and our membership. But what I would say that successes were observed concerning the workload. I've heard good comments where persons saying the workload is not as hectic as last academic year. I must commend the former council led by the Michael Joseph for not only representing but doing a data analysis exercise. These data analysis exercises are the purpose of these data collection exercises is to ensure that we get the voice of the students. You already have an argument where you say that the rates, pass rates, and the performance of our members have increased. I continue, and Michael would have done as well, we continue to advocate that, yes, the grades may increase, but the mental pressure and, of course, home circumstances that our membership is currently facing due to the pandemic are still present. They are real. They have been exacerbated. Therefore, we need to ensure that nobody is left behind. Recently, the council conducted a survey to find out the proportion of students who are employed and whether they are registered as a full-time member or a part-time member. We have found out that the majority of these students are full-time employed, and we have raised these concerns to the faculty, hoping with the hopes that, of course, there's some proper solution mechanism that would probably be employed. And we will continue to advocate for the students, because we understand that some persons would have, of course, they are confidential answers and there's an anonymous survey, but the pandemic has basically created a situation where not only layoffs would have happened, but we've seen on the onset of the pandemic, the gates would have been restructured, which means that you cannot go for a second degree, you cannot even afford your postgrad, you cannot even apply for postgraduate and get gate funding. That would have caused members who want to come into FST to do a FST degree and go up into bed or into engineering or some other degree of that sort. They would have to pay this first degree by themselves. And Consequent to that, if you come into FST just to take 1 degree, but you have intention to take another degree, we're not going to register as part-time, as it would create a situation where you're spending 5-6 years on 1 degree when your initial goal was to go on to another degree. And I believe that students of that nature need that representation because they are valid concerns. They are not to go unnoticed. And the council have noticed, and we have ventilated those concerns. We have documented those concerns for noting of the faculty. We continue to ventilate those concerns for noting of the guild, for noting of the academic board. We have ventilated those concerns and ensured that. Now moving on to a sketchy topic, which is the DCIT and coming in person for face-to-face exams. We've known that some of these exams are, well, I have been briefed yesterday that they are waiting approval. Some would have reverted 100% from moving from, because of course, all approvals need to come from our Ministry of Health. We've noted that some of the courses would have gone from the proposed face-to-face to a 100% assessment mode, right? Now, of course, the time windows are a concern, but let us look at the positives. Let us look at what the guild has been advocating for. We have indicated that if any one of our members that have come in person to do any sort of material, we need that communication weeks beforehand. We would have continuously ventilated it. Right now, I can say that my position and the guild's position is, if it is safe to come back and do labs or exams or whatnot, and proper communication is given to our members, then we're fine with that. I am fine with that as your elected representative. But if that is not going to be observed, then I cannot support that. And I have to advocate for the interests of the members, right? And I will be blunt here. We have to ensure that when we have our regional members and so forth, we have to ensure that they are accommodated, they are included in the planning process, they are updated weeks in advance. Of course, a lot of these things are dependent on health policies, the national policy, the announcements by our esteemed Prime Minister. But we still, as a guild, a collective guild, need to ensure that our interests are represented, and we have been doing that. We have been doing that, right? And going back into academics, when class reps have come to me and stating certain issues and how they would have felt operating as class reps, I always try to intend to give them the advice and reroute them to the correct sources. So that is what we've been doing at a faculty level, the departmental level, at a class rep level. We've been working. The council has been working. Apart from all of our initiatives, we've been working. We have been allocated a budget of $35,000 for initiatives that are catered for you. Events that would interest you guys is, of course, the departmental days, the postgraduate preparation day, all of the gender initiatives. We working with it. Well, of course, we are not undergoing any distribution projects because the guild is doing that, but we are assisting the guild in the dissemination of their projects. For example, the laptop repair drive, the food drive. We have recognized the need to help our members. You may have a laptop, software not good, need something reinstalled, something with the hardware. The office of the ICT chairperson would have worked and ensured that they have that facility for our members. Additionally, the food drive, we have completed the food drive, which was done in the last council, and we have distributed those hampers. We have distributed those hampers early in the first week of school, right? The guild would have distributed them. So as opposed to the student council doing with our own outreach activities, we has decided to allow it to be centralized at a guild level, right? And it has been working fine and well thus far. And we intend to continue to share these initiatives and continue to encourage persons to take advantage of these important initiatives by the council, the guild council. And what we have been doing, so we have been in several outreach. Our social media is extremely active, even though we are in week 11 now, we are still an active council. And we would have gotten international, we are looking to get international recognition. As we've known, the COP26 would have indicated the need for climate change, alterations and funding and whatnot, and we need to protect our earth. The council would have engaged in several exercises, which of course collaboration with the guild, to enable our students to participate in these hashtag called Earth Day, which is CNN's project, which enables members to understand the importance of protecting our earth, understanding that climate change is a real concern, and the FST Council, Guild Council, and all the faculties and all the committees have joined that. So I say participate in the competition, participate, and let's see what we can do. We'd have had the Friday Night Lives, which are an informal session to this, of course, a brainchild of the Michael Joseph administration, for us to get concerns ventilated and what we call rock back and enjoy a session. We would have worked with the Deputy Dean of Outreach to increase student engagement. What we have been doing, we would have been advocating for entrepreneurship, employment, and all those important things. The question is, what is the council's plan to advocate for post-UE? What is the faculty's plan? We've tried to be at the forefront of those discussions. We've been trying to work with the Guild for those discussions, and we've been doing well. A lot of the work we do is behind the scenes. A lot of the work things that I say at certain board meetings, I am unfortunately on non-disclosure agreement, where I will not be able to say certain things in this public forum. But rest assured that these times may be that difficult. These times maybe you may feel to give up, but just remember that the council has your back. There are certain things that would have been the mainstream last semester, last academic year. We've seen a change in that. We have advocated and ensured that week 13 is not a week where you're learning new content. And kudos to our postgraduate president for ensuring that week 13 is a week, as they call it, the reading week, to ensure that week 13 is a true reading week for our members. That's what we have been doing. So whilst you guys will be getting 3-hour exams for certain courses, mainly in the CIT departments and DMS departments for certain courses, or 6 hours, and some departments may get a day or 2, right? Depending on the structure of the course, of course. We have still been able to advocate for the betterment of our members at an academic level. We've still been able to get those concerns with respect to coming in person, as I mentioned earlier, for anything. We would have still been able to ventilate it. We would have encouraged our students to build that relationship with the lecturers, so they can understand the full gravity of any situation that a student is experiencing. Because we, as a council, we advocate on behalf of all students, and we have the strong view that no student should be left behind. We have been advocating for the mental health. We have been saying that the CAPS needs to be more staffed, and because we've noted that because of the pandemic and this online mode, and we're basically isolated and locked inside, we have more, there are more mental health challenges faced by our members, and we have been I as a rep on the council have been very vocal in advocating for the mental health of all our members in the university and within our beloved faculty. We have been advocating for better communication on behalf of the UE. We have been advocating, we've been saying that the times have changed. We are fully online. And we've noted the concerns with the fee pay. We have noted concerns with food service desk. The council have been very busy asking questions, ventilating questions, responding to people privately, giving them accurate information, routing them to the appropriate persons who can assist them. So we have noticed your concerns in all aspects. We continue to note them. some concerns that were brought to my attention by up yesterday about certain concerns they had about certain courses and so forth, and I cannot, because of the extent of the matter, I cannot go into what the concern is. But there are a lot of concerns that have been brought to my attention, and I cannot see it in a public forum, but just note that whatever concerns that are brought to my attention are rerouted to the appropriate persons to assist these members. I want to go, before I hand over to Nicholas Rampol, who will more or less speak on the academic committee, I would like to speak about the restructuring of the student council. But before I speak about that, our council is the most accessible council, the largest council. And I say this with the utmost sense of humility. I'd like to thank my entire hardworking team, my guild, for all the assistance they have given us, for us to come in 6 months and report to you and let you know of what we have been doing, ensuring that every single person knows who the council is, knows what the council intends to do, and how we intend to represent our members. We've been doing that. And this is not a Mr. Mathura initiative. This is a council initiative. This is a guild initiative. I'd like to thank my president, Sandy, the guild executive, the guild secretary, for their involvement in the FST's affairs, their advice to me as a representative. Mr. Keston Fraser, who is facilitating this streaming, and his team, who've been working on assiduously to develop the guild's website, which has been a formal platform for you to understand, as opposed to social media, to see what the guild has been doing. There'll be a complaints. We have been advocating for complaints page within that guild website, because we know there are limitations for the Facebook page. So we are going digital. And that is why we need to restructure the student council. I will speak of the restructure. Council would have submitted their constitution, draft constitution, to Mr. Hiran Rampasad, the president of the Law Society, whose constitutional committee will review the draft, that said draft, and that draft will be presented in a similar format as this to allow our members to ratify that said constitution, see what they want in that constitution, to see what they don't want in the constitution. The council will be rebranded. The council would no longer be one unit. There will be 2 units. There will be FST Student Society. To be a part of that society, you have to be a registered member of the faculty, and you are served by the FST Student Council. We are rebranding us as a society. This rebranding will allow us to get effective representation, heightened representation, as we see in the Law Society, as we see in the Faculty of Medical Sciences. That is what we want to do. We want to be a big voice. We want to be a vocal team. We want everybody to know the roles of the members they put here. We want everybody to be elected. No more will an FST representative appoint his friends to the council. Of course, that is a concern. I'm being loosely here. No longer will somebody have to send a resume and reviewed only by one person who is elected on the guild elections. Everybody will more or less be responsible for who they put as my deputy, who they put as their department's rep, who they put as our PRO to represent us, who they put for us for events, who they put as our secretary, who they put for us to manage our resources, the treasury, the treasurer. And we look to expand the council by having subcommittees. We have a PRO subcommittee, which only consists of councillors at this moment. We intend to have committees to a publications committee, which are in instances where you cannot attend these events. We have a publication for you to see. We have monthly reports, minutes, and all those things that are available in Guild AGM repository. But we want to have a publication for us, not only Guild, for us to summarize what we've been doing. So if you cannot make a town hall, if you cannot come to an event, you'll be able to read that document and understand what we've been doing and scrutinize and criticize, because we are open to criticism. We are open to that criticism. We want to have an ICT committee and a web page management committee. It should be responsible for managing that new page that will be commissioned by the guild. Of course, it's baby steps involved, but we want to be progressive. We want to be a progressive council. We want to have a standard finance committee to ensure that our budget allocations, we are allocated $55,000 this year, are properly managed. They will ensure that all the expenditure goes back to the students, that are beneficial to the students. That is what we want to do. We want to have a constitutional and elections committee, which will ensure that members who fall awry of disciplinary proceedings are dealt with in an efficient and just manner. We want to have a constitution committee to manage the constitution. We want to have an election committee to manage elections, to ensure that we have free and fair elections in this faculty. We need to ensure that we need to step up. It's time that us as FST have the similar caliber as the Law Society, as the Med Society, as any society that we've known to be standard bearers. We have to be standard bearers. And that is what we intend to do. Whoever we put on the council, we want to put the most hardworking persons and most efficient and honest persons on the council. And you will have the opportunity to do that next year. I will not be the president next year, but I will be an onlooker supporting this next council, the next incarnation of this council, supporting their initiatives to ensure that students get the proper representation that they need. We've been ensuring that. And I would like to say, in closing, that we as the student council, the sacrifices we made, we are students as well. We have our own academic assignments and dates and whatnot as well. We have exams to do as well. But we have committed ourselves to putting this extra load on our shoulders to ensure that you, the student population, are well served. Your voices are heard, and nobody feels muzzled or cannot speak freely. We've been ensuring that. After we leave this town hall, many of us will have to go and do an exam or an assignment or submit something into Internet. But we've ensured that this council remains active. Of course, safeguarding the mental health and physical health of all members of the council. But we've tried to ensure that everybody feels well served. And I just want to just briefly summarize everything I would have said. You all know about the staff-student liaison, where students get represented at that meeting. And there are concerns that are brought and represented and dealt with. There's the faculty board, there's the academic board, which usually the student is represented by a guild counselor. I represent you at faculty board for FST. I represent you for FST in the academic affairs committee with the academic affairs committee and academic board, which has other counselors involved. The AQUAC is represented by our postgraduate president. BUS is represented by the guild president. I would like to say all these boards have things that they cannot say confidential. So I'm not going into what is discussed there. Just saying that it exists and letting you know of the hierarchy. Once a matter is brought to my attention and I cannot deal with it, I want it to be ventilated at a different board, I would go to my president and say, this is what we need to rectify. We will have a discussion and that matter would be raised on my behalf on those respective committees that I don't sit on. We've ensured that the clubs, I don't sit on the ICC committee, but we've ensured that concerns of the clubs is properly ventilated as well. Concerns with finances and so forth, we've been dealing with all those things with assistance from the guild executive. So I know I've said a mouthful, but come next year, we will be coming to you with a document called the FST Student Society's Constitution. We will be coming to you with it. We will be trying to circulate that document. We will invite you all to read it, understand what's being put in there, understand the stipulations. Tell us what you want to edit. And together we can restructure this council to exhibit inclusivity and representation for all. I'd like to pass you on to Mr. Nicholas Rampo, who will be speaking of the intricacies of the newly established Academic Affairs Committee of the Student Council. Mr. Rampol, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Jeremiah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nicholas Rampol, and I am the Faculty of Science and Technology's chemistry representative for this academic year. So Jeremiah pretty much basically talked a bit about the academic committee already, more or less took what I was gonna say, but oh well. So let me tell you what the academic committee is all about. So the academic committee comprised of our FSC representative, Mr. Matura, his vice, Mr. Brandon Ogier, and all of the department representatives. We form the academic committee, and what we do is basically ventilate all matters concerning any courses, whether it's the lecturer being unfair, if there's any injustice being done to any of the students here. We discuss, we talk it out, we try to figure out, okay, can we solve this? Can we do something? Is there a compromise? Is there anything we can do so that the population can benefit from it? That's basically what we do. Mr. Matura also brought up the student liaison meeting, and I would just like to reiterate how important it is for people and their classes to have a rep to talk at those meetings, because that is the place where you can get any concerns and any matters for that instance to get addressed. Like, okay, the lecturer not posting notes. Okay, bring it up to the meeting. Okay, we need more time for labs. Bring it up to the meeting. If your lecturer is just not answering your emails, bring it up. You know, the idea is you don't want to just sit there looking pretty and just not get anything accomplished. You know, you want your concerns addressed. You want to make sure you have the best online teaching experience ever. You don't want to just get messed with. You don't want, I mean, these days are so stressful enough, and especially how now is crunch time, because this is the do or die moment here. So yeah, I didn't have much to present on for this. Thank you all for showing up, and we look forward to answering any questions you have. So thank you. The floor back to you, Mr. Matsura.
So, in the interest of time and for me to find out whether we have more speakers coming, I'd like to encourage you guys who are here watching to please encourage people to come and participate in the Q&A session. We need much more people involved, and please ask your questions in the chat, and I will answer them once I can answer them. So I've given you guys 5 minutes. We will return at 4. No, I'll give you guys 4 minutes. We'll return at 4:20 for us to discuss. Have a discussion with me. Ask me a question. Hold me to account. So I'll give you guys 4 minutes to encourage your friends to come now and let's see if I have any more persons who will be coming to present or whatnot. So, guys, Mr. Philip, I believe you should contact. I don't know if you could contact any one of our speakers to see what is going on. We'll schedule accordingly.
Definitely.
So we would break, we will return, and members, please encourage persons to attend this Q&A now, so we can have a lot of questions being ventilated in the next 5 minutes. Okay, so we unfortunately don't have any more speakers coming in. So, which is Ojiran, Mr. Ojiran, Miss Arrow. So unfortunately, we have to, we cannot wait. I would speak on their behalf. So it started with Mr. Ujir. Meanwhile, please encourage people to come and ask the questions. We'll be getting the questions ventilated soon. So please encourage your members, your friends, your families to come and ask questions, because this is the first time FSD Guild Rep is here on a platform like this as Student Council, as the president, having a town hall. We have never had a town hall at this nature before. Yes, you can meet me in my emails or in my private texts. But what we can do, this is something where we come out in a public forum after this meeting is live stream is stopped. The recording will be there for all public eyes to see what we've been doing. So this is our level of transparency that we are facilitating. So encourage your people to come and take part in this transparency exercise. Because without transparency, there can be no democracy. So speaking on Shania Harrell's thing, right? We have no concerns from the beginning of the semester with regards to how students feel about returning. So I've gotten multiple emails, I've gotten concerns ventilated to me. Well, all those concerns were ventilated. Grade D to note, several courses has gone back to the online, of course, with the effective time windows. I say, I want to just tell members, I hate to be that guy, but having a face-to-face exam, rather you not have the face-to-face exam, when you come to a 3 hours final exam online. Let's be like what I would say, let's understand the situation and let's be happy for what we've got, because not everything, there's a reasons why the face-to-face was even proposed in the first place. There are reasons why the time windows was reduced, right? So let's see, let's understand why these things are there, and let's see what we can do. And as I keep saying, the guild, the examinations, everybody who wants to ensure that everybody has a fair opportunity to complete their exam, contact the relevant persons. If you're unable, if something happens, your internet cuts a half an hour, your Wi-Fi gone, your current gone, and a whole half an hour passes and you cannot submit your exam and the due date has passed, the due time has passed, ventilate those concerns accordingly. Recently, I had a member who indicated that they would not have electricity for that exam. Would have contacted the class rep and ensured that the lecturer had been made aware. Provisions and accommodations would be made. It would be made eventually. It would be made. I must say we have understanding lecturers, understanding heads of departments here who wants to ensure that no students are left behind. So let's get in that practice of informing whosoever we need to inform when things like this happen out of the blue. We've conducted a survey this year to find out how persons felt. 95% of the persons who responded indicated they had concerns over the variant, the new variant, and don't want to leave their houses and so forth. Those concerns are noted. Those concerns were noted. Students would have ventilated the distance. They have members coming from regional. And yes, for some courses, I've been advised that they still are waiting for some approval from the Ministry of Health. My issue is, when do we look to inform our members? We are in week 11. Got time, some persons got timetables yesterday. Were venues included in those timetables? Not to my knowledge, because my knowledge, approval, certain instances were still pending. So it comes back to the communication with our students. I ensure that if any provisions are made in place and you don't find it's good, you find it unfair, inform me. I will take the correct recourse. Because one thing I've been stressing is the importance for students to have ample time to make arrangements, logistical arrangements. If that can't be done, then it's not feasible. That's my position. You cannot go into an exam without studying or going to class. You cannot go an exam without paying attention to what is being done. And that is my position for us to return to any form of a face-to-face exam. We can't have a face-to-face exam and we get to find out a day before without considering everybody's circumstance. Can't be done. As much as I want to go back on campus, as much as I want to go back online, it's not about me. It's not about what I want. It's what the members want. And that is the position we are here with in terms of the CIT representation. Our position does not change. We don't intend to change our position. You can hold us to our word, and we will keep that word as a council, as a guild. We will ensure that whatever decisions are made are in fact in the best interests of our members. We have to ensure that. Because if we don't safeguard the interests of the students, what is our purpose? What is the purpose of the Skills Standing Committee if we cannot safeguard the safety of our members? What is the purpose? So rest assured that yes, there are certain things that you would like you'd like us to advocate for, you want us to advocate for. We may not be able to successfully get it because of a lot of factors to take into place, and the main case in point is the time windows for these exams. But know that, rest assured that if we are to take a route, it may be easier to come in face to face and do an exam. But what if the provisions are not in place? There are concerns about mold in the faculty recently that were brought to my attention last week. So facilities and so forth. I've had conversations with the former Deputy Dean of Safety and Facilities. He have raised some concerns to my attention. So we're not only talking about where they have Delta variant, where they have this or where they have that. We want to ensure that as your student voice, we want to ensure that the facilities are there. At the Academic Affairs Committee meeting held, I believe, 2 weeks ago. No, yes, I believe it was on the 29th of October. I raised 2 points to the president and that the then chair, Mr. Hiran Rampasan Gil-Laura. The points I raised were transportation. What are the attempts to ensure that we have safe transportation? What is the collaboration we as a university have to ensure? What is the state of our shuttle services? What is the state? I am very forward thinking and I'm a very progressive representative. What are the states? Then I would have asked of us to consider the facilities for us to do that is being ventilated in our academic board paper, which will be presented this Thursday, well, next Thursday, the 18th. Is the safeties fit for students to use? Is the ACs working? Is the environment clean enough? Are the pipes working? Are we in circumstances where I heard a report before I take office where the pipe would have exploded on a member and the water would have leaked? Yes, we need to ensure, even though the faculty's business is the faculty's business to ventilate, but we need to make sure as a guild that we are advocating for the right thing. I may have said something I'm not supposed to say here, but I have to speak to the membership to let us know what we are fighting for or what we are ventilating. Cannot come on campus with improper facilities, regardless of who is responsible for the funding and whatnot. We just have to ensure for our peace of mind and our comfort, because our administration knows more of the interior and what's going on than our students. The guild representatives on the council would know a little bit more of the interior, what is going on. The question is, what is the perception of our membership? And it all goes back to communication. It all goes back to communication. So that's me ventilating Chanaya's part. Going back to the EPT position. Now, the EPT stands for evening part-time, representation of part-time students. Based on the survey, we only have like about 40, to our knowledge, registered test. I get 100. Your voices still need to be heard. And I would have expanded that representation by saying now we're not only representing the persons who are registered at part-time, we want to be a voice for our part-time students, our full-time employed students, for whatever circumstances they may be facing. We're not going to sit on an ivory tower and say, well, you're full-time, you're not supposed to be seeking an employment. You're not supposed to be seeking employment once you're full-time. That's why they have divisions. But we are not a hard and fast council. We have to understand that there's a need, everything has a reason. And we have brought those reasons to the faculty, to the guild, for their consideration. And I will be lobbying to ensure that these matters are addressed, to ensure that these concerns are ventilated. Because without proper ventilation, where's the representation? Where's your voice? Without proper representation and ventilation of these concerns. And kudos to the class reps. A lot of class reps have come to me with success stories. They was able to get extensions for the students. They was able to get a combination for the students. But as much as we want to communicate, we want proper communication from our staff, our guild, and who's ever responsible for communicating with us on matters that directly affect the general student. We need communication from the students as well. Quoting Ronald Reagan, what is not what the president can do for you, but what you can do for the president. And similarly, what you can do for the council is continue to have faith in us, continue to ventilate your concerns, continue to ask questions, and continue to be observant. And we will help you in those observations. We will tell you what we can tell you. We will speak to you. And any questions, I will open the floor to questions now. I encourage you, if you've come and your friend isn't able to make it, and your friend has a question that he wants to ask, or she wants to ask, type them in the chat. Let us know what are the questions. Let us know what issues, concerns are bothering you. We need to know, and we will ventilate them. But we can't ventilate in a public forum. We will ventilate it elsewhere. And I know what I keep saying, not everything that we've been given requests, we're able to get a favorable conclusion to. But it does not mean we have failed the students. Because me and my colleagues have listed several achievements and accomplishments that we have done in half of our tenure in office. And there's always room for work. There's always room for improvement. More can be done, more needs to be done. But we are standing the gap for our students, and we'll continue to do so. We will continue to do so. So, let us see what questions we can answer.
Well, currently, we do have one question so far. How will we be able to join the subcommittees, and is it a lot of work?
Right. So that is a good question. With respect to any subcommittee, and I would like to emphasize on the point of subcommittee you want to create. Right now, our committees are it comprises of councillors, and it puts extra burden on our councillors. That's why we want to have subcommittees open to people who don't serve on the student council, who serve in a committee of the student council. For example, Mr. Philip, Ms. Hussein, Ms. Graham, that anybody who serves on this council don't serve on the guild council. I am the own, and I have to make it abundantly clear, because I had members of the FST council, may have thought that the FST council is the guild council. No, it's there's an underlying difference. The guild council is managed by, guild president, their elected positions, their appointed positions. Then there are standing committees. Those standing committees are managed by the chairperson of that committee. I am the chairperson of the student council. Now, going back to the question of subcommittees, there will be so for example, the gender affairs representative who sits on the council would be the chair of that committee. She will be able to delegate tasks. And note, and if we have let's say we want to have a club subcommittee, we have that chairperson who will be responsible for delegation of tasks. And it's not all about the workload, because in anything you do, they're going to require a certain volume of work. The question really arises is whether the person who is responsible for that committee is accommodating, understanding, and exhibit true qualities of a leader. And I want to make it sure that if there's a subcommittee formed under my council, the person in charge of it will have to exhibit and emulate certain qualities for that to be. That is my answer to that question. Going back to something, if you're good at ICT development, join a committee based on website development and ICT. If you're a good graphic designer and you're good at publications, join the publication committee that is soon to be established. And with respect to the advertising, you can contact anybody, chairperson, and we will use our social media platforms to ensure that these committees are appropriately promoted, so you have an equal opportunity. It's not I am a strong believer against nepotism and us picking friends to be there. We need to pick qualified people in our position, right? So I hope that answers those questions related to our subcommittees. And I would like to say in closing that these subcommittees are a concept that really birthed and really bore fruit under this administration. Yes, Michaela.
Okay, hi everyone. So that question about these subcommittees as well, I'd like to add something specifically for the gender subcommittee. I don't know if you all heard it because my internet, I know, is giving a little bit of issues, so I'm sorry about that. But we have an application form that Mr. Philip would have dropped in the Facebook chat. So we can drop it again for applying if you want to be on the gender subcommittee, and it will not be too much workload. We always try to be mindful of everyone's mental health, and we understand because a lot of us here are third-year students, so we know that the workload is a lot. So we will never try to put too much on your plate, and that's why we need more people to help us out so that we can split up the workload. And everyone on the committee will have their own roles. In the application form, it's also explained. So yeah, that's the agenda.
No. Is there any more questions that needs to be asked? Sorry.
Well, there's another one, and that's directed to me. What about the clubs like Student Energy and UV Environmental Society? Are they still running and are they on the FST? And I'll take that one easily. So those clubs will be on the FST. However, I've heard no word from them for this semester. So I think we're running on the assumption that they were currently not running. Of course, I will be in contact with them, with any staff who's presently affiliated with those clubs and see what's going on. But because I've seen them being dormant for some time. However, if they aren't dormant and are undergoing some reconstruction, you'll be the first to know as we'll advertise their new pages on our social media.
I'd like to have a note and confirm, I'd like to confirm what Savannah is saying about the dormancy. As a guild counselor, I have access to the full list of clubs that are active for this academic year and that are active under this ICC. I will not speak for the vice president, and I will not speak for the clubs. I only speak for myself. But I did not see the clubs there. What I would say the ICC is undergoing, they would like to do some changes, and of course, those things will be discussed at the ICC. So in case where we have a dormant club who's dormant currently, every new incarnation of the ICC and club executives, they are an opportunity where you have to register every academic year. So yeah, whilst these clubs may be dormant, whilst these clubs may not have traces of anybody who formed the clubs still active members of the university, well, students, any club can be picked back up and revived. And the reason why I'm noting this, the club that I was the former public relations officer for, that's Titi Spa, they would have been incepted years ago, but it went in a state of dormancy. Then in 2018, where I believe I was in upper sixth, the 18-19 academic year, that academic year saw that the club being revived by 6 students. Then I would have gone on to the 1920 and going on into 2021 academic, where the club was expanded regionally. The club was actually expanded regionally. There's a Jamaican version of the club and there's a Baptist version of the club. And we're the fourth, the 2021-2022, the fourth consecutive incarnation of that club under Mr. Brandon Mohammed, the president. What does that say? Yes, sometimes clubs things may happen. Yes, the engagement may decrease. But there's always the opportunity for us as student leaders to pick back up on that pace. And I will be advocating for more robust structures to ensure that students know how, students who want to restart a club or form a new club, they understand what is the process. And that's why we have a club we call the coordinator for. He has to acclimatize himself as the procedures of the ICC. He's actually a member of the ICC by virtue of being a president, I believe the survival scholars. So he is acclimated to ICC. And then when he forms the Biochemistry Society next academic year, and we hope it gets the approval, we will know we get away with it. So I would like to answer any questions and other questions. That's just my take on that question. Do we have any other questions? I see a good question. How does the student council benefit you as the representative? That's an interesting question. I will answer that question. So those who want to join the next incarnation of the Student Council, I say by all means join. Because you never know what initiatives and how impactful. It's raining by me, I apologize. But you never know the type of advocacy that we engage until we actually join the council. And you can see right now, being out of the council, you have members who be like, okay, the council serves no purpose. But when you're inside and you get to see the lives they change, the people whose voices are actually being heard, people who may have lost hope in certain circumstances, and when they ventilate it to us, and when we deal with them, it's a satisfactory feeling to see that they are served and they have been pleased. We have 2,800 people in this faculty. Not all 2,800 probably knows that we exist, but we're trying to expand the outreach. I tell you, as your representative for 6 months, elected representative, one thing that has been a joy sitting in this office is not the fame, not being known as Mr. FST Rep, not having people call me Sir and Mr. Mafura, not being in a position where you can go and attend certain meetings and get certain information firsthand. That's not the joy. That's not what I'm here for. Not for any glory purposes or bonuses, bonus marks. No, there's no bonus marks. This is totally separate from academics. Totally separate from academics. The joy is knowing that I am in a position to help my people, to give contribution selflessly to the society and this great faculty, to be their voice, to be entrusted with that honor. And that is the greatest benefit of serving on this council. That doesn't only apply to me, it applies to members of the council. Going in this council, you given more than you actually getting. And that based on, what's the point? I ain't getting nothing out of it. But assisting people, being service oriented. Apart from the CV and all those kind of things, because this gonna look nice in the CV. Being service oriented, gaining that people skills, gaining that interactions, becoming relatable to people is important. Right? I will close there. Miss Michaela Hussein. I notice her raised hand.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something. On behalf of me as a gender affairs rep, I have been able to make this a part of my career because now I have a lot more experience and training in gender. So it's not just, yeah, Jeremiah was talking about all the other aspects, but it is really beneficial to your CV and potentially your career. So I just wanted to add that.
Ms. Mikala Hussein, while we have you here, we have a question for you actually. You've mentioned representing the genders via education and via the formation of FSTC spaces. What is the process to join FSTC spaces, and will there be any safeguard against quote-unquote trolls?
Okay, that's an excellent question. So the FST Safe Space, you can apply via our membership registration form, which we can again link in the chat. And when you apply via that form, we are going to contact you and we go through a screening process. It's just a little interview so we can get to know you better. And that's how we kind of screen out the trolls, because we don't want anyone coming into the club and making it not a safe space for everyone. And we do not want our information to be leaked at all. We have a confidentiality statement that we ensure you agree to before you apply for our membership form. And if you do happen to breach that confidentiality, we are going to cut all our associations with you, and all of our affiliated members will also do that. It's very strict rules. And yeah, because we want to ensure that we know that not everyone accepts everyone's sexual orientation, and it's not safe for everyone in society. And that's why it's so important to have confidentiality. So yeah, thank you for that question.
So are there any other questions?
One more that I can see. With regard to the website, what will it entail, and when will it be up?
The website?
Yes.
Thank you for raising that question with the website. With respect to the website, this website intends to be a student-oriented website, engaged by the Office of the Guild ICT Chairperson, Mr. Keston Fraser, and in collaboration with the Publication Officer, Ms. Kavika Thomas, who manages these Guild social media apparatus, and I believe the PCC, and all those aspects in those committee chairpersons, they are coming together to Guild page. So these Guild pages will, of course, serve a similar purpose as the social media apparatus that we already have existing. But the purpose of the website will allow us to have a full repository for any form of documentation, any form of quick links, anything that we see fit to put there. It will allow us to put a calendar in place. That will be allowed for us to do. It would allow us to have a full directory without you having to skim through a lot of posts to see who your representatives are and how to contact them. Everything will be much more easily accessible. And I know a lot of you, well, everybody's supposed to know what is the FST's faculty website. You wouldn't be an FST student if you didn't know it existed. You see the layout of that website, you can get your courses, you can get your booklets, you can get everything you need. And when we have a publications committee, publishing things on behalf of the Student Council, all those things will be available. And that is the goal of making the Guild accessible to you. The council would have met with Mr. Fraser and his team, and we would have asked for certain things to be put in there. Have a ventilated calendar, repository, directory, links to certain opportunities, be it an internship, links to faculty opportunities that we can share. We will be collaborating with the FST faculty for us to aid in dissemination of certain documents and information that we can share. Updated. That's one key word you need to understand. We want to put an updated repository to access all documents, forms, all of those things. And I will be ensuring, I'm not the IT guy here, it's Savant himself. He should be answering this question. He will answer this question actually. I will pass over them just now. But I'm just giving you a Guild Council perspective on what we intend to do with this one. And I will say that all these things require funding and all those kind of things. But the ICT team is working assiduously. Mr. Fraser would have worked assiduously, met every single faculty representative for faculties to put their position on this website. So it's not only for FST. FST will have a segment of the website. Part of that website will include our clubs. Our clubs will be featured in that website. So the same benefits that the council would have, the FST council would have in getting a portion of this website, our clubs now stand to benefit getting a portion of the FST's portion of the website. Everybody stands to benefit with this website. Mr. Philip, what's you?
So just to condense what Jeremiah just said, or Mr. Matua just said, the website will entail not only stuff related to the Student Council itself, but also the clubs, important documents, as well as a complaints form, so we can streamline getting your concerns and ensuring that they are dealt with in a very timely manner, because it does get overwhelming when concerns are all flood in via email. So by doing this, we have a new repository so that it's easier for not only you, but us as well to deal with all of them. We will also have a separate website that's dedicated to informing you of upcoming events held by FST Student Council and by clubs as well, and by extension the guild. So by doing this, you not only have a better idea of what's happening with the council, but you have a better idea of what's happening with all the clubs, any important events that you may, or even events that you may find interesting that you haven't heard of yet, or even getting to see a club that you're not part of yet, but you find interesting. All of those will be available from our website. So we encourage you, when it's up, to please visit and check it out. As to when it will be up, I cannot give a set date, but we are currently working as much as we can to get it up as soon as possible. Back to you, Mr. Matua.
Thank you so much for that lovely, concise manner of making my lecture a bit more condensed. With that being said, do we have any more questions before I go on announcements?
None that I can see.
No, okay, we have no more questions. One, there was a question that was raised to me. Well, you know, and I have ventilated time and time with respect to what the council doing for me. Well, in summary, we have been on every important board that we need to be on, being the voice for you. We have not been mute to the concerns faced by our members. We have not idly by and watched our membership experience hardships and so forth. We have been trying to get those concerns ventilated properly. We have tried to increase engagement and communication between us and the students. And we, the council, have been trying to ensure that you put us there, you put me there. I am responsible for ensuring that you get value for your vote. That is what we've been doing. So what, as I keep reiterating, what we may not have been able to accomplish, don't hold us to that. Don't hold us to our mistakes. Of course, some mistakes you have to hold us to account, and we'll apologize when we have to apologize. But let's look at the positives. You may have a 3-hour exam to do in December. You may not like the time windows. But we have tried, and we will continue to try. We can help how we can help our members. We'll continue to try. So with that being said, look forward to a council that is more inclusive, more expansive, more democratic. I look forward to society. In this, I've told you all, we have been part of the CNN's call to Earth Day. We have executed, me and my colleague, Ms. Rachel Bali, Ms. Hussein would have presented a paper for ICGC, which is Intercampus Girl Council. And it was about the call to Earth Day, and we have initiated that proposal. That is an international opportunity for the girl. That is an international opportunity. So we are trying to not look at Chem Day. We invited a minister. We had a minister talking up the chemistry department. That is what this administration is doing. So we not only need to deal with concerns and what class reps and stuff has to deal with, But we are trying to give you an opportunity to be internationally and nationally recognized and regionally recognized. All of our regional initiatives have that purpose. So that's what we've been doing. So we may not be doing anything. We are doing a lot of things. Now going on to announcements. The Student Council will be holding our next town hall next semester. We'll be further updating you with respect to the Constitution and the election process, what you are to expect the first ever elections for the FST Student Council. We'll be announcing the person we have appointed as a returning officer who will be responsible for working with the FST rep-elect to ensure that the formation of that next council is formed in a transparent and democratic manner, which will involve the voice of the people as opposed to the person, only the FST rep-elect choosing all the position. We want to make that abundantly clear that for council to work properly, we need to have democracy. Next week, we have our men in STEM on the 19th. Stay tuned, watch it. And we have our Physics Day commemorating our esteemed Physics Department. I would like to go on a separate note saying I am the first girl FST representative in 20 years coming out of that department, and we look to have an excellent Physics Day come January 27th. Save the date. Then we have our Women in STEM, commemorate our women and girls in science and field of STEM. We have a lovely event planned for you. Michaela Hussein is spearheading that event. The 11th of February 2022, which commemorates the days for women and girls in science. And STEM on a whole. We have the Life Sciences Day, which will be in April. We'll have our DCIT Day, where we'll introduce you to internships, job opportunities, and so forth, held in March. We have the postgraduate, this is for year threes. Now, we don't want to clash with the work of the PSSD, but we as the council have recognized the need for us to come out and assist you in postgraduate preparation. So my lovely counselor, very hardworking young lady, Ms. Amy Ramdat, was brought to my attention before we took office. She wants to ventilate, well, have a day called the postgraduate preparation. That day we intend to invite speakers, postgrads, supervisors, and so forth, really assisting you with that application process for your postgraduate degree, and then ensuring that you check all the boxes when that time. And encouraging you to come back to the UWI, the Faculty of Science and Technology, to do your postgraduate degree, your MPhil, your MSc, your PhD. We will be doing that. We will be having collaborations with respect to resume writing and so forth with FHE. Look out for that. We'll be having, we want to have events catered to showcasing the talents of our members. We'll look out for that. We want to have, of course, if any member remembers any events that we're having next semester, I'm missing out, please tell me now. Because I think I'm forgetting some events that we'll have in next semester. We have a lot in store next semester. And of course, we will be well indulging in the Guild's 60th anniversary celebrations. We are 60th, our Guild is 60 years old. So FST's contributions and FST's participation in any Guild initiative is always there. We always make sure to support initiatives of our Guild and their subcommittees. And what I can say to the membership now is thank you for coming out. Thank you for listening. Thank you for allowing us to have this transparent exercise with you and update you on what we have been doing. Even though the times may be challenging, but your cries are not gone unheard. If you were unable to ventilate your concerns at this forum, email me, guildfstrep@my.edu, follow FST SCUE, both on Facebook and Instagram, message your respective pages, contact me privately, call me at 745-7905. That's my business number. May not get an answer right away, as I mentioned before. I am a student, but I will try. I am notorious for having a high response rate and a high activity rate concerning the members. So you try to reach me and I will try my best to see how I can help you or reroute you going forward, right? And I like to just close and saying the papers we submit at faculty board for noting of the faculty, we ensure that they have the substance it requires. We ensure that the faculty is aware of what council has been doing. This exercise aims at correcting something that may have gone missing for years, which is letting the students know what we've been doing. Therefore, I will call upon on my secretaries, Ms. Celeste Jipan and Ms. Kanai Navarro and Piaro to make a public repository for us to share publications done by this council. So we will know, you all will have the opportunity to read and follow up on everything your FST Council has been doing. With that being said, we're approaching 5:10. We have no more questions. I believe we had an informative session. Follow the FST Facebook page. We have more coming from there soon. And with that being said, the recording of this is available on the YouTube channel of the Guild, the Facebook channel of the Guild, and you can watch this at your time and convenience. You will hear exactly what your council have done for you. And we'd like to thank all the students of FST for the overwhelming support of this administration and its initiatives, and for giving us, because we as representatives are not absolved from challenges and difficulties. And we need your support just as you need our support or request our support. We'd like to thank you for that support. As a Guild rep, the leader of the FST student body, the council, I'd like to thank you all. All the best in your examinations. I hope that we all end semester 1 successfully with grades that we bargained for, and all the best. And end of year greetings I'd like to extend to all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.